Now going over to the political part podcast, you have Vivek on Republicans voting for FISA 702, which, again, we should not be surprised. I mean, the number of rhinos in D.C. are plentiful, to say the least. Now, this is on Vivek's X Twitter profile, in which he says, quote, "The very Republicans who rallied against the weaponization of government just voted for more weaponization of government. Congress didn't just reauthorize FISA 702, they dramatically expanded its scope. Blaming Democrats is easy. Looking ourselves in the mirror is harder. Wake up, folks." And granted, his voice is infinitely better than mine, so without further ado, it's only about 2.5 minutes long. Go ahead and play what he has to say. And of course, he's infinitely better than the guy we just talked about, not just because he's not mentally morally vacuous and evil, but Vivek, like all men, know that men should always suit up, because that's how you look your best. So without further ado.
House recently voted for a FISA 702 reauthorization. I say reauthorization in air quotes, because it was actually a dramatic expansion of the power given to the surveillance state to now co-opt any company, not just communications companies like Verizon or Google, but any company to be able to do its bidding through spying on everyday American citizens through the back door. That's what the House passed. And now the Senate, including with the support, shamefully, of Senate Republicans, has now voted to pass that as well. Shame on the Republican Party. Shame on Congress. Shame on our elected leaders. The government you elect is unfortunately the government you deserve, as Thomas Jefferson said, and that was meant for moments like this one. I am sick and tired of hearing of Republicans railing on cable television about the weaponization of government, waxing eloquent, signaling their virtue to our base, while actually then voting to give that government the power that allows that government to be weaponized. It's disgusting. The countless list of Republicans, look everyone who either voted or even some who chose not to show up. This is shameful. I'll give credit where credit was due to the likes of Mike Lee and Rand Paul. Actually stood up as Republicans with the spine for civil liberties. But for the rest, yeah, it's easy to talk about the weaponization of government when you are literally enacting the statutes that allow that massive surveillance state to continue to grow. Forking over more money to Ukraine while we have problems right here at home. Expanding our surveillance state without justification, using fear-mongering reminiscent of the Bush-Cheney era. That's the real divide in today's Republican Party. It's not even in the Republican Party, it's the divide in our country. Between a managerial class in the deep state of the government. Involves both parties. It's a bipartisan affair. The worst ideas in Washington, D.C. are often the bipartisan ones. That managerial class and the everyday citizen. At one end of the spectrum is this view that we should use our own resources to somehow fight and even start foreign wars that don't actually advance our interests while expanding an Orwellian security state here at home. Not just through the government anymore, but merging with private companies to do through the back door what the government couldn't do through the front door. That's one vision, supported by most of the Democratic Party and a good chunk of the Republican Party. And on the other side, a vision which says hell no to that vision, that we actually believe in the Constitution, that we believe in the vision that our founding fathers set into motion, that we believe in the Bill of Rights, that we believe in the First Amendment, that we believe in the Fourth Amendment against unreasonable searches and seizures by the government, that we view the Constitution as actually the bright, shining North Star of our country, not some pesky constraint that we find our way around. Next time you have Republicans that stand up about the weaponization of the government against our party or conservatives, ask them how they voted on this bill or whether they voted on this bill, and that'll tell you the truth about how much they actually care versus what type of lip service they're throwing and feeding your way to lull you into submission.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And went moderately viral. Got 573.6 thousand views and 18,000 likes. So, well, 18th. Oh, I thought maybe I could have been the 19th, the one like that got to 19,000. I wasn't, but nevertheless, I did like it. And yeah, it's one of those instances where, yeah, what was it? Over 100 Republicans voted for this. It wasn't like one or two. They all voted for it. I think one of the comments breaks it down to the actual yays and nays. And you had some who didn't even show up, which is pathetic. Your one job is to show up and vote on stuff, and you can't even do that. It's not like you have a hard job. You're not digging ditches. You're not working. You're not cleaning dishes. You're not assembling. You're not You're not working at Foxconn and assembling iPhones. You show up to a nice air-conditioned building. You're supposed to vote on policies. Are you on your deathbed? That's the only conceivable reason I could see a public official not doing their job. Granted, most of them don't do it well anyway, but still. Now, one of the first comments comes from Paul Zupa, saying, quote, traitors like Dan Crenshaw just voted to give the corrupt FBI more ability to unconstitutionally spy on innocent Americans without a warrant. Nothing says America lasts more than take away our constitutional protected rights. Shame on Crenshaw and all the GOP rhinos, unquote, getting 500 likes. Which, Dan Crenshaw's pretty good at marketing because, again, the way he votes is not how you would perceive him as a public official. I mean, it's all his interviews, pretty much everything he says. You would think he's a hardcore, America first. He's really all about the Constitution. You look at his voting pattern, and it becomes more and more disappointing. Now, Brad Miller also says, our politicians no longer work for us. And it says, quote, when you wave the flag of the country you're working for. And it's most of the people in D.C. waving Ukraine flags, which, I mean, there are a lot of things wrong with Ukraine, in addition to being one of the most corrupt countries in the European Union. Well, not in the European Union, yes, but in Europe. And, yeah, it's fascinating to see most of these politicians who would never be caught dead, waving an American flag, they are more than proud to, wave other countries' flags, which does show you their true allegiance and alliance. I got 431 likes. So he's scrolling down here. You got Valentin Gomez says, quote, everyone who votes yes is a treasonous purchased scumbag. They are a cancer to America. Corrupt salts, getting 230 likes. Ben Dempsey says, quote, they keep everyone distracted, fighting about Democrats versus Republicans when the rot existed deeply within both, getting 149 likes. Although that being said, at least Democrats, you know what you're getting. They're pretty consistent with, they say how they're going to, they run for office, they say they're going to do A, B, and C, and they get to office, and granted, most of what they do I disagree with vehemently, but at least they do what they say they're going to do. I mean, why are there, ever notice how there's no, we have rhinos in the Republican Party, but there's no one in the Democrat Party that flips. It happens so often in the Republican Party that there's a whole term invented for it called rhino, pejoratively known as Republican in name only. It doesn't happen on the Democrat side. You can almost respect that more. You know what you're getting. Now, again, one of my soapbox moments is Republicans had the House, they had the Senate, and they had the White House. And they couldn't get suppressors off the NFA list so that you could purchase it on a regular 4473 background check paperwork. Instead, you still have to pay a $200 tax stamp, thanks to the 1934 law, and you have to pay sales tax, and you have to wait sometimes, well, thanks to the technology nowadays, but it used to be 9 months to get the paperwork back. Oh, you have to also jump through a bunch of legal loopholes, or hoops. And yet, the Republicans couldn't get that less regulated item. I mean, ideally, it's part of the Bill of Rights, it shouldn't be regulated at all, but they couldn't even move 1 inch in the right direction. Which, again, because there are so many rhinos there. So that's one of my soapbox topics, so to say, that where I could point specifically be, oh yeah, you had the House, you had the Senate, you had the White House. You couldn't get this thing done that you said, oh yeah, you do that for us. They had the proposal, they had the paperwork. Nope. Let's see. Defender of Freedom says, quote, the Republicans are even worse than the Democrats. At least the Democrats say it right to the public. The Republicans sneak around behind our backs, doing their evil deeds. Trump needs to run as independent, unquote, getting 104 likes, which, no, that really wouldn't work. And again, this is someone who's mostly libertarian. I wish it would work. But the amount of resource allocation you would need to run as independent, you would need Elon Musk money, and you have to have huge infrastructure, not just resources in terms of online social media. You need hundreds of thousands of volunteers to pound the pavement. Because again, one of the biggest issues with elections, or one of the biggest ways you win, is gathering the votes, ballot harvesting where it's legal, or depending on what side political aisle you do it when it's not legal. But a lot of it is just getting those people out to vote and getting those ballots out there. That takes resources, and Trump is being attacked, and they have pretty much locked in court. He's not allowed to leave court. They also have those legal bills, adding up. I mean, he doesn't have the resource allocation to run as an independent. And he already has the Republican primary. He won that. So, and again, the Republican Party, they're moderately efficient at raising funds. Thankfully, now they've gotten rid of Ron McDaniel, they'll be a little bit better at it. But, yeah, there's no reason why Trump should pivot to run as independent right now. I think he'll get a lot of independent votes, especially because his historic track record is very anti-war, and he is not so much of an interventionalist, where a lot of independents and libertarians I know are much more isolationist. They don't want to, go after all these countries and spend all these resources in countries that most Americans cannot point on the map. So I think a lot of what Trump says already resonates with independents. There's nothing, in my opinion, to be gained by him actually switching officially to go on the independent libertarian ticket. Scrolling down a little bit more, you have, what is this? Legalis, quote, this means the NSA can have unfettered access to any business's servers. Hypothetical, NSA obtains access to X servers under the guise of looking for terrorist activities. Instead, they compile a list of people who they do not agree with governments, elections, or vote a certain way. They come after you undercooked charges for crimes you did not commit and ruin you because they can. Freedom of speech is dangerous to them. We are the enemy of the government, and they want everyone to comply with what they are peddling. I got 97 likes. American Lives Matter says, quote, who needs TikTok when you have the American government? I'm quote, getting 11 likes. Scrolling down more and more. Right Blend says, quote, oh, let's see. They're all in the same team. They're anti-American. They don't care about the Constitution. I'm quote, getting 51 likes. Logical Fallacy says, quote, this is a disgrace. Shut down 3 of their agencies. Deport them from D.C. Getting 48 likes. Robbie Parling says, quote, they're all warmongers. They're all compromised. The whole system is a mess. Getting 46 likes. Ooh, is that a contrarian statement? What is this? South Dakotans for Political Integrity. It's the lamest name I've ever heard. Terrible marketing. They claim they're GOP politicians and right-wing media control. This is the description. GOP politicians and right-wing media control their base with lies and hate. We interject facts, sound logical interference, and appeals to decency into right-wing bubbles. That sounds cliche beyond all belief. And they say, quote, Trump's attempt to destroy American democracy. Here are the undisputed facts. He pressured the DOJ to just say there was, just say there was a fraud, even though European told him no fraud. His team filed fraudulent electoral documents in 7 states, claiming Trump won. Let's see. Oh, Jesus. A couple paragraphs of stuff. He claimed he won 2020 election before the votes were even done counted. That's kind of cliche. Everyone does that. Let's see here. Him and his team considered... Does he have any evidence of this? Considering using the military to seize state voting machines. Lean 2020 election. Half-baked stories, unproven voter fraud. I mean, they have many instances where they show there's voter fraud. It was just the issue of, do you have enough evidence to show that it was enough to actually make a difference in the total count? How many does this get? Did get 12 likes, and you have a contrarian statement. It makes it a little more interesting. Let's see here. One more here. Got Crypto Medium saying, quote, when the government betrays the people, its needs of the people, it no longer is their government, it is their enemy. Getting 52 likes. So not too surprising that they decided to, vote unanimously. They voted overwhelmingly for the FISA 702. And it's unfortunate. I mean, to me, there's always that, one of the biggest pivot moments is with the Patriot Act. That was, again, a perfect example of anytime there's something in the government where they name a bill, ironically, it usually has the opposite effect. Hence the Patriot Act, which I would argue is one of the most unpatriotic things ever passed in the U.S. government, and destroyed a lot of the semblances we had of privacy very similar to this. So let me know, are you surprised that some of the Republicans actually voted for this after they claimed they wouldn't? As always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.